And we extend our Mother's Day greeting from Forest Hills as Gerulaits and McEnroe get set to do battle. An internal struggle of sorts, and as much as we're in the Big Apple, and a couple of New Yorkers will have at it. Gerulaits from Kings Point and McEnroe from Douglaston, the Douglaston area of Queens. The tail of the tape, as they say right there. And as you can see, Mac has already taken home $222,000, not counting exhibitions, this year. 2 tournament wins, and head-to-head, McEnroe has won 7 of the 11 lifetime meetings. However, Gerulaits did beat McEnroe in the finals of the first ever Tournament of Champions right here in 1980.
And that is the last time, as a matter of fact, that he has beaten him. They've played 4 times in legitimate tournament events since that time, including the event from Dallas in the semifinals last week, in which I think it's kind to say that he was destroyed. Gerulaits was destroyed by John McEnroe.
So here we go on the clay in the wind. And right now, bright sunshine at Forest Hills. McEnroe winning the toss and serving. The graphic showing you that McEnroe was seeded second in the tournament. The number 1 seed was Yvonne Lendl, and Lendl was knocked out on Thursday by Henri Leconte. Gerulaits coming in seeded 5th.
Obviously, a lot of speculation, as there is before the finals of any tournament. No different here as to who's going to win the thing. General consensus is that this is a surface that, if Vitas has a chance to beat John McEnroe, this is a surface that is going to suit him best. He's going to do the kind of thing that you saw him do there on the second point of the match. If he has that opportunity, and that's attack the second serve and come into the net, make McEnroe go for the passing shots. So the first serve percentages for John McEnroe are going to be important. We'll follow them.
Gerulaits coming in, and McEnroe putting it just inside the line. John had a first round bye and then did not have to play in the second round because Velasco didn't show up. Gunnarsson showed up and was dispatched very rapidly, and then Smid in that fiery quarterfinal match went down, as did Vitas in straight sets yesterday. Good hand for Gerulaits at 30 all. He beat Craig Wittes in the second round, winning a tiebreaker in the second set there, and then a tiebreaker in the first set as he dispatched Dibbs. Then Brad Gilbert, who played well up until that point, was beaten in the quarterfinals, and then yesterday he beat Creek in the semifinals. Johan just couldn't get anything together yesterday.
Eddie Dibbs, of course, won this tournament easily over Carlos Kiermaier in 1981.
And Dibbs was a finalist last year, losing to Yvonne Lendl.
Right.
Talking about keeping track now of McEnroe's first serve percentages. He served exceptionally well in his quarterfinal match on Friday. And yesterday, not so well, all things considered, with the breeze and the wind making it very, very difficult.
We had a chance to talk to Vitas' father, and he confirmed what we had said yesterday. Al, that is that the wind really does affect his ball toss, which is a shaky thing the best of times.
Oh, nice passing shot by Gerulaits.
You know, for an early sort of feeling out of each other, you've seen some extraordinarily good points here for clay court tennis early in the match, and there's one of them. That backhand, you see Gerulaits from the baseline going through that ball so well. When he is faced with a situation where both players are back, he will very often slice, more often than not slice, but when you come in against him, he will do what you saw there on the replay, go through the ball, even with a little bit of topspin. I think he said none in so far, referring to his first serve. He knows just how important it is for him.
Talking to himself there, not the officials.
Well, Vitas tried to attack him in the second point. Ali has not had much success with it, as you see the last time that Gerulaits did beat John McEnroe. But he has not had much success, and I will say that John McEnroe has got the, if not the best, certainly one of the 2 or 3 best second serves in the business. You have to put Ivan Lendl up there in that bracket with him. I say that only because you should know that it is difficult to attack McEnroe on the second serve. Vitas will try.
John McEnroe takes the first game. Holding serve. That's 2 of 3 format here at the Tournament of Champions. 100,000 to the winner, with McEnroe on top in the first set. In the haze, the skyline of Manhattan starts spreading the news. You want to join me in a duet? You didn't know that was part of the deal when we hired you, right?
You go right ahead.
Here we go. Tournament of Champions final. Second game, first set, with Gerulaits serving. McEnroe winning the first game. We are between LaGuardia and Kennedy, and so consequently you'll hear that sound quite often today, the droning of airplanes. And not that far from the National Tennis Center either, where they play the U.S. Open. McEnroe unable to save it. Gerulaits right there anyway.
Those planes are something of a distraction here, but nowhere near the same velocity of noise as there is during the U.S. Open from Flushing, which is almost on the borders of that airport. Watch it here. McEnroe going for it, but short. Look at that.
Beautiful lob. Gerulaits, his shot is out.
You know, it's impossible to pick that shot from McEnroe. You've seen him so often hit that thing with a lot of topspin cross court. He can also go down the line. Vitas Gerulaits was looking for either one of those 2 possibilities, but he came through with the lob, and I defy you to pick it the way that he takes the racket back. There is no televising in advance what he is going to do. Short backswing.
McEnroe able to get it back, but out. And it's 30-15.
By the way, we talked yesterday about the advantages of playing with topspin, having a high margin for error. And one thing I did not point out, that in the wind, it is a definite advantage to have a shorter backswing. And John McEnroe certainly has a shorter swing than Vilas, for example. Both of these players, if you watch them carefully, relatively short backswings, unlike the long swings of Ivan Lendl, Borg, feel under that type player.
30 all. The wind, and we showed you graphically that it was blowing at about 17 miles an hour, similar to yesterday's situation. However, right now it has not been nearly the factor that it was yesterday. Look at the flag there, flapping in the breeze. Yesterday was really swirling in the bowl here, and today no major problem so far.
Gerulaits is mentioned how at the best of times he has a shaky second serve, even at first serve when his ball toss is not good. The wind is not as much of a factor as it was yesterday, but it is nevertheless blowing. But he makes no concession to that second serve. Look at it.
30-40. So McEnroe is presented with the first break point. John yesterday broke Vitas early. If you were looking on, it appeared that Guillermo had won the second game to even it at a game apiece, but they changed the call, and McEnroe subsequently won that game and won the set 6-1 as he did the second.
Vitas won that point, but it's a dangerous play for him. You've got to put John McEnroe away when you have the chance. That first forehand volley from Vitas, he had the open court, just never punched it with the authority that you saw from him yesterday. McEnroe was able to run it down, never won the point, but stayed in the point, and he has dangerous passing shots for a man that is well known for his serve and volley style.
Father.
Watch this. That's why I say you got to finish the point quickly, because watch this. Off the forehand side, not his best passing shot side, but cross court for the clean winner. Vitas Gerulaits not even making a move to it, obviously looking for that forehand down the line. This is the second break point. That's great anticipation from Vitas, Al, because John McEnroe will go cross-court off that backhand side a lot more often than he will down the line. So that was a tough judgment to make. Let's watch this passing shot again. Down the line, as I said, you seldom see it. At least you see it often, I suppose, but not near as often as the cross-court. So it was good judgment from Gerulaits, and he needed it at his break point. Versatile players, great athletes, both of them. Gerulaits getting back to that lob. Beautifully played lob, by the way, and a good idea, particularly in the wind. Look at him get back to it. Get the ball back in play. Now, watch this forehand down the line, threading the needle for the winner. Beautifully played, and John McEnroe knows that he has a match on his hands.
So Vitas has already warded off 2 break points. His ad here, McEnroe winning the first game.
As you play against a guy like McEnroe, it's so important to try to get an early lead, because if you let him get out in front, you can close things out very quickly.
Gerulaits, who was faced with a couple of break points, is able to come back to win, hold serve, and square the first set at a game apiece.
Watching a man in John McEnroe wrestling with the fact that this is not his favorite surface. He's never proven that he can win consistently on clay. Heck, he's only ever won one tournament on clay, and that was in South Orange in 1979. Not a major tournament at that. But it's interesting to watch him work with his game, try to stay back, play the clay court game. It's not something that the Australians, the Rod Lavers and the Roy Emersons used to do, Fred Stollies. They'd come in and play their own game on clay. McEnroe is trying to play the game as it should be played on clay. A little bit more defensively. In fact, both of the players a little more defensive than I'd expected from either one. These are the early stages yet, of course.
You'll notice that McEnroe's right thigh is heavily bandaged, has been since Wednesday night. Slight strain of a hamstring on Wednesday in a doubles match. And if it's limited his mobility, it's been maybe 1 or 2% limited. He looked fine yesterday.
And he told us before the match that he feels like it's getting better every day.
Vitas must wonder what it would be like if McEnroe did not have that hamstring pull yesterday.
Well, you know, it may be a factor. It might have been more of a factor if it had been 5-set matches here in New York. But, of course, this is the best of 3.
Good point. But then again, McEnroe did play doubles last night.
I understand he played the whole match with a sweatsuit on. Which is a smart thing to do. Relatively cold.
Got chilly last night, and he was out here for a while.
What were we looking at last night? 60, 65 maybe?
Less, I think, yeah. Maybe high 50s even.
Look at that. Of course, we'll follow those first serve percentages as the match progresses, but I said before, it's going to be important for both guys. Trying in my own mind figure out for which one. Probably Gerulaits. He does not want to be faced with too many second serves, even though the breeze is not as fierce as it was yesterday.
Overruled there.
Both versatile athletes. They can come in, they can stay back. But McEnroe is a lot more dangerous on the serve. He has a lot more confidence in it than Gerulaits. A lot of respect for each other, these two. They're good friends. I say that because, as yet, of course, we're only 2 games into this match, but we have not seen any complaining from John McEnroe. Saw that he's won twice this year. He has not played that many events. He lost in the first round at Las Vegas. But those 2 wins against Ivan Lendl will do a lot for his confidence.
McEnroe at first was talking to himself and then apparently to a spectator or a photographer. Great lob.
It's a marvelous lob, and he makes it look so easy, doesn't he?
Oh. That's the way they tell you to hit it. But how many people in the world can hit it like that with great consistency? Of this match, the championship final of the 1983 Tournament of Champions. In the first set, McEnroe leading 2-1. A look at some of the recent head-to-head competition. You can see in 1980 that Gerulaitis had won 3 straight and highlighted in blue the victory here in the first tee of C. But then McEnroe won in Sydney in 1980 and won 3 more and has thus won 4 straight and leads lifetime 7-4 over Gerulaitis. And leads here 2 games to 1, though we're on serve as Gerulaitis serves in the first set.
Gerulaitis has had his personal problems over the last year, and he's trying to forget those, put them behind him. That's not easy to do, of course, and he's making an effort, and the fact that he got to the semifinals as they wait for some folks that you see behind Gerulaitis trying to find their seats. He, of course, has got to the final here as well, so in as much as he needs a comeback, and he really does from a mental standpoint, this has been a big tournament for him. And this match, a great opportunity. You know, McEnroe is nothing if not smart, Al. He's throwing up those lobs, a couple in that last point alone, and it's a heck of a good thing to do, particularly in the wind. I've mentioned that before, but Vitas is a little shaky overhead sometimes. That's one of the reasons he's doing it. The wind is another. He's just a smart player.
He's come to the net on the first 2 points and down low 30.
Has a great feel for the right thing to do at the right time.
So a triple break point for John McEnroe here in the first set.
It's his first double fault, and I think you can expect to see a few more of those for the reasons that we've talked about already.
Just long, and so John McEnroe breaks Gerulaitis at love and leads 3 games to 1.
Oh, that double fault is going to cost him heavily at any time at love 30. Of course, you're virtually making that game on your service history when you serve a double fault at that point, especially against John McEnroe. I said before, the thing that really surprised me about him is that he doesn't, in tight situations like I take anything off that serve. Make sure he gets it in, but that's the way he plays, and he feels the percentages are on his side.
All now. Westside Tennis Club, Forest Hills. They used to play the U.S. Open here. Still a lovely, well-maintained facility. Beautiful stadium court. Some stirring behind McEnroe.
Stadium that used to boast grass courts, obviously. You remember those days for so many years, and then were changed, see, about, what was it, 9-10 years ago.
Beautiful by Vitas Gerulaits.
Drop volley for the winner, and as I'm talking about there, it was changed really in response to the player's request. Take a look at that volley there from Vitas. Well played. He had to stretch for it, hit the drop volley at the same time. Tough shot to execute. Of course, he needed it. He's a breakdown, so we've got to come back. When I said, by the way, that McEnroe had only won one tournament on clay, he did win the Boca event challenge series down there, but that was a 4-man event. Admittedly a great field, but not what we include in our statistics. Matter of fact, he beat Gerulaits there.
So McEnroe with his first double. And so Vitas Gerulaits, who had just been broken, now has a couple of break points himself to try to square things.
You know, when Vitas is down by 40 or 15-40 against McEnroe, as I said, you can pretty much count the game as history. It's not the same when McEnroe's serving. He's got such a penetrating serve. Second serve. Let's see if Vitas attacks him. Here he comes. Very loose volley from Vitas Gerulaits for no apparent reason. He just set John McEnroe up with it. That one right there. Watch it. McEnroe has the down the line, goes for it. Barely gets to the line, but it was a relatively easy passing shot for a man with his kind of talent, and Vitas knew that he was in trouble as soon as he hit the volley. He has at least another one more shot at the break in this game.
McEnroe has things back to deuce. Good point before, Cliff. You don't want to fall behind early to McEnroe. I mean, of all the guys in the world, you want to be down 1-4 or low 4-2. I got to think he's the last.
Sounds like an obvious thing to say, but when you're playing against a guy who has a better record than you are, and that is probably a slightly better player, you've really got to try to get him down early.
And Gerulaits had a good opportunity to break right back, but all of a sudden now, after it was 15-40, it's advantage McEnroe.
Watch John McEnroe here, and watch this upper body rotation. The arms go up together. Now he leans into it when he makes contact with it. As you see, he's at full stretch for that ball. Great follow through. He's just got good timing. Having said that about his serve, I will tell you that he has only got 4 first serves in out of 20 so far.
20%. Points, and he may be serving at 20% efficiency, but he leads 4-1. And we'll be back with more from Forest Hills after this message and a word from our local stations. The finals of the Tournament of Champions. Al Michaels and Cliff Drysdale with you. On Mother's Day from Forest Hills, New York, John McEnroe leading 4-1 first set. Best 2 of 3. $100,000 to the winner and $40,000 to the loser with Gerulaits serving.
Vitas's first serve percentages at 70% by contrast to McEnroe's, but it hasn't helped him any on the scoreboard. No.
He's in trouble again.
Not going to get away with that. You saw that in one game ago at a very critical stage. Matter of fact, it was break point, and he played that kind of volley. He just doesn't seem to be holding that wrist firm on the volleys. He's certainly not hitting the ball firmly, whatever the technical reason for it is, and that's presenting an easy passing shot for McEnroe. It's got to bother him. Similar kind of volley there. Instead of that punch, that crisp punch that you see from the great volleyers, and indeed him, because he is a good volleyer, he's just either taking his eye off it, or, as I said, loosening the wrist somewhat. The ball is getting up, flying on him.
McEnroe has everything working again, and it had to be quite dispiriting as far as Gerulaits was concerned. That last game, a chance to break back 2 break points, and then all of a sudden Mac runs off 4 straight, leads 4-1. And now it's 15-40 as McEnroe replaces some equipment here.
Talking about equipment, we should mention again that this is McEnroe's second tournament with this mid-sized graphite racket that he's using. I think you're going to see him play with that for the rest of his playing days. He's apparently very happy with it, in contrast to the wooden racket that he was happy with for years. He's picked this up. He feels it helps him speed-wise, gives him more punch on both the volleys, ground strokes, and serve.
And he also feels it's better for his shoulder.
You're right. He does.
John's had an assortment of minor aches, pains, and injuries over the past year or so. Right now, the only pain belongs to Vitas Gerulaits.
Well, we started with a couple of very well-played, well-executed games from both guys, Al, and things have really turned around. John McEnroe's taking his time. He's not rushing himself. By contrast, you can see Vitas Gerulaits very unhappy with the way that he's playing. He's missed a lot of easy shots. He's not hitting that volley crisply. He's approaching off sometimes a very questionable approach shot, making an easy passing shot for McEnroe. At this point, he's all at sea. One of the few great shots you've seen from Vitas lately, anyway. Look at this approach here. He keeps it again, going through that ball well. Cross court for the winner. McEnroe loves 30 now. He was down 15-40 the last time he was out serving, and if he loses this game, or had he lost at 15-40 in the last game, it would have been the first service game that he has lost in this tournament so far.
He has not been tested by anybody to this point.
Approached the net 22 times. He's only won 8 points. By contrast, McEnroe has won every point which he's come in. No.
Out.
I said that he'd won every point. Obviously, as I said that, I'm thinking to myself, what about the 2 times that he got past? We just saw that, and obviously I read it wrong. It's 5.
5 of 8.
Of 8.
And to the strains of a DC-10, it's 15-40. Spent enough time, you get to differentiate between the pitches of the various aircraft.
Another big point for Gerulaits. He's really got to try to come back soon. Well, this could be a very short match.
Gerulaits is able to stave off what appeared to be an imminent first set loss, and he'll be serving down 2 games to 5 in the first set of a best of 3. The father of Vitas Gerulaits, who was a pretty good tennis player in his own right years back, looking on. His son has broken McEnroe in the last game. First time John has lost his serve in the entire tournament. But now Gerulaits serving, but still trailing 2-5.
Vitas Sr. was the pro at the site of the U.S. Open, Flushing Meadow, for some time. As I said before, he's not rushing himself. I'm impressed with the way that McEnroe is playing. He's just biding his time. Got a little bit of help there from the net, but he's not doing anything unnecessary. Cross-court, no. He had it in his sights, too. He knew exactly what he wanted to do with that. And he's got a 75% chance of making that shot. Just wide. Vitas still giving him too many chances to make that passing shot. He's not hitting his volleys as well as he usually does.
Lob is out. 30-15.
Saw the same kind of tactic from John McEnroe yesterday, staying back against Vitas so successfully, won that match losing only 2 games, 2 sets. That's 3 outstanding passing shots from Gerulaits. All of them hit cross-court and with really great authority. Watch it again. He comes through that backhand side as you see there. McEnroe not anticipating at all, just watching it go by. But when he's at the baseline, as I've said, he will slice the ball. When you come in against him, he'll go through it like you saw.
McEnroe getting the line. Vitas Gerulaits breaks McEnroe and then holds serve, and he's down a break here with McEnroe serving. John leading 5-3.
Might have waited too long to make his move, Al. 5-3 and McEnroe serving. So obviously McEnroe still in the driver's seat in this set, but one can always say if things had happened sooner than they have happened in terms of breaking McEnroe, you might have had a very different story here. It's not over by any means, but McEnroe serving for the first set.
Gerulaits has very much climbed back in it when it looked like John might make it a runaway. Might be McEnroe's best first serve of the set.
soften those first serves when he needs them.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Watch this here again. You see the upper body rotation. Watch him bend his knees and then spring into this ball. And then when he makes contact, he's at full stretch, as you see. Feet about 2 inches off the ground, and then that fine follow through. Boy, he's got a good serve motion. A little unwieldy to start, but when he makes contact, he's in perfect position.
Make more noise. A lot of noise.
Chiding a fan behind him. Gerulaits very frustrated right now as McEnroe with a near ace and an ace, and then Vitas nets the second serve here, and all of a sudden it's 3 set points for McEnroe. John McEnroe, after Gerulaits had won back-to-back games, comes back, wins game 9 at Love, and takes the first set. That's 2 of 3 format here. McEnroe halfway to $100,000. Second set when we come back. We're back live at the Westside Tennis Club. Al Michaels along with Cliff Drysdale. John McEnroe has won the first set over Vitas Gerulaits 6-3. Sometimes numbers can be a little deceiving, and this is one of those instances.
Let's take a look at the one double fault apiece. Ace is not really relevant. Only 1 for McEnroe. 70% of first serves. 8 winners for McEnroe. 12 unforced errors for Gerulaits. Something of a story, but that hardly tells it all, does it?
And John, despite the problems he had on his first serve, was up 5-1, then 5-3, and then won it at Love as we start the second set.
Oh, that's a great shot. John McEnroe relatively at peace with himself at this point, Al. I think with his game and the temperament, he's playing against a guy that he obviously respects and likes. That's a mutual feeling. So none of the fireworks that we saw earlier this week.
Similar to the behavior pattern exhibited yesterday with Vitas. And quite in contrast, I'm sure, as Gerulaits questions that call mildly, quite in contrast to what I'm sure you read about around the country in regard to the match with Smith on Friday. Second serve coming up here. McEnroe, among other things, fined $1,000 for verbal abuse of Smith. They're going to replay the point. Dr. Charles Beck is the man in the chair today.
I'm not sure if that reaction from the crowd was in response to the overrule from Beck or the fact that John McEnroe hit a ball toward one of the line's persons. It was not the person who made the bad call, so it's just, I don't know. I can't answer that question. However, 2 serves. Tremendous contrast between the way John McEnroe hits that forehand and the guys who lead with the elbow. Fellas like Borg, Lendl, Vilas. Hits the ball a lot flatter, guides it more than hits it. Gerulaits not dissimilar. Well, that drop volley is a higher percentage shot than the attempted drop shot from the baseline, but you still pay the price if you don't hit it well. And watch Vitas Gerulaitis not only get to it, but execute the shot perfectly. McEnroe covering the down-the-line shot, as you could see on the replay. The one thing that both of these fellas do well on the forehand side, Al, and you can watch them as they play, is early preparation on the forehand side. Gerulaitis particularly reminds me a little bit of Chris Evert. You know, it's not the round arm big loop swing. The ball is hit relatively flat, but the early preparation is reminiscent of the way that Tracy Austin, the way they hit the ball on the forehand.
Point every John.
It makes it look easy, you know, but it's not as easy as it looks. He has such a good feel for the right time to come in. The minute that he sees that slice backhand, he closes into the net. By the time he makes contact with it, he's not more than about 2, 3, 4 feet away from the net, and he's got any kind of angle that he wants. Great volley execution. McEnroe, tennis genius at the net, without a doubt.
He's really exhibiting his versatility, if nothing else, in this tournament. He, last Sunday, of course, was coming off that marathon match, beat Lendl in 5 sets. Fifth set going to a tiebreaker. Came here playing on a surface not really to his liking necessarily. A slight injury on Wednesday in doubles, and yet he has just been totally dominating in all of his singles matches thus far.
I think that point is very, very well made. The man is, as you say, a versatile player to the extreme, and I don't mean to say that he's a genius only in the volleys. I think he's a genius as a player, no question about it. 1981, had an extraordinary year, winning both Wimbledon and the U.S. Open, carrying the U.S. to the Davis Cup title for that year.
Vitas Gerulaitis is not going to go down without a good battle. Some nice shots in that game for Gerulaitis, who takes the initial advantage in the second set, live from Forest Hills. Tennis here on ABC. Regional coverage. You'll see either Tampa Bay against Oakland from the Oakland Coliseum, or the Denver Gold taking on the Philadelphia Stars and Kelvin Bryant. USFL football next. Here, Gerulaitis winning the first game of the second set. McEnroe now serving.
Steve Flink, World Tennis Magazine, just given me an interesting statistic. McEnroe has won 12 of 16 points serving into the deuce court for 75%, and 7 out of 15, that's 46% in the ad court. And that's strange. I'll tell you why in a second.
Contrast to the way it normally is for him.
Right. If you watch where he's serving to in this court here, he has much better angles. He can pull the right-hander, which Vitas is obviously, wide to the backhand. He can also successfully serve down into the right of your screen for the winner.
I think any weekend player who is right-handed and plays a lefty knows exactly what you're talking about.
Precisely. And if you watch it here in the deuce court, he doesn't have that same kind of angle. For him to serve an ace here is much more difficult, because when he serves it to the wide side, in other words the forehand side of Gerulaitis, the ball will come into his body and not away from it like it does in the ad court. So interesting statistic. In spite of that, he has won more points to the side.
Good deep serve, and McEnroe leads 40-love very quickly.
beginning to get a higher percentage of first serves in at this point. That's going to make a difference.
Get the break. So John McEnroe takes a second game, one apiece.
Has not had much problem on his serve other than the game that he lost, and one game only had 15-40 and came back, John McEnroe. But as I was saying about his serve, a player like McEnroe, and of course that's true of most players, will get into a groove on serve and sometimes serve very patchily, and going to be problems for Vitas Gerulaits, and that's what they're playing for the trophy. As you look at that, Vitas Gerulaits is going to have more problems with McEnroe. He's had his problems in the first set, of course, if John gets into a groove on serve, and it looks like he may be.
We were talking about John's versatility before, but the one thing that's really struck me this week with him, especially in that match with Smith, the semifinal match, the fiery two-setter the other day, a lot of athletes, if you get into an acrimonious situation, for instance, a pitcher with an umpire in baseball or a quarterback maybe with a defensive lineman in football, sometimes you come unraveled.
Perfect anticipation there from Vitas. And McEnroe going, I think, for the cross court, slightly misjudging. He went down the middle of the court right into Vitas's racket. Watch it here on the replay. Good approach shot. Played with slice. Down the middle of the court, and Vitas was all over that volley.
So, to follow up on the point we started to make with McEnroe is that some athletes come unraveled in situations like that. But John, the other day, despite all of the sideshow antics that went on in that match with Smith, he just blew him away totally. Never let him affect him once.
Like Jimmy Connors, I have never seen John McEnroe get discouraged with anything. I've seen him offer the antics that you've seen from him, sometimes too often, and sometimes even in bad taste, but it does not, as you say, affect the way that he plays, and that is just a tough thing on his opponent.
Smith did everything he possibly could the other day to try to get him unraveled, sitting down, bickering with him, bickering with the officials as well. But it turned out to be a one-sided match.
You remember very well Ili Nastasin. Of course, he hasn't given up playing. He's still a player, but he used to get on that kind of a track and would just fall completely apart sometimes.
Yep. Perfect example right there, yeah.
Not so McEnroe, though. The distinction is well made.
Vitas Gerulaits holding his own here in the second set. That's some good tennis thus far. Mac wins the first set 6-3, and Vitas leads here. Both men holding serve in the second set 2-1 Gerulaits. That's the story thus far. McEnroe winning the first set. Finals of the Tournament of Champions, $100,000 to the winner and $40,000 to the loser. And the Tournament of Champions is being brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, engineered like no other car in the world, and by Radio Shack, the computer experts with over 6,500 locations nationwide. West Side Tennis Club, Forest Hills. John McEnroe serving. Gerulaits leading 2-1. An ace for John. His second. That serve.
Look at that in. First serve's in 25. He wants 17 of those points when he gets the first serve in. Gerulaits 13 first serves in. He's won 9 of those points.
And you can make it 3 aces now for John McEnroe.
Of course, those statistics will be even more severely in favor of the server on a quicker surface than this. Even first serve, not easy to survey. So John McEnroe at this point, let's say almost halfway through or early stages of the second set, would have served more doubles than the normal serve. Said doubles, I meant aces. But Gerulaits is a good athlete, and he's not going to let McEnroe get away with too many aces. You see it there.
Number 1 for John McEnroe in that department. Number 2, beg your pardon, second double. Like all walks and strikeouts to this point, 2 aces and a double full, 30-15.
That's a great shot. Drop volley, you know, it's a delicate shot to play. Just soften the wrist when you make contact with the ball. John McEnroe does it so well. We've talked about the low percentage shot from the baseline, but watch this here. Now, let's take a look at it very carefully. You see that upper body rotation, then he hits the ball, if he can, out in front of his body like you saw. By contrast to the usual firm wrist volley, though, there is some softening on that in the drop volley that you saw him play. Man moves. John McEnroe getting to it, not making an effective shot, but he moves around the court so well. You always feel like he's totally in control of himself and his movements, and this is a slippery court, so if he's going to have any trouble in that department, it is going to be on a court of this kind. By the way, I'm still thinking about those double fault stats that we saw. You remember yesterday in the match that Vitas Gerulaits played in the semi-final. At this point in the match, he had served approximately 1 double fault per game. So far, he has only served 1 double fault in this match.
Great save by McEnroe, but then Gerulaits was right there.
Well, that was the drop shot from McEnroe, played from the back of the court, and we've talked about that during this weekend. It's a low percentage play from him. You can see why. Vitas Gerulaits getting to it, going down the line, waiting for the only shot that John McEnroe had, which was the backhand down the line, and he had the open court with the backhand winner.
So we're to deuce in the 4th game of the second set. Gerulaits leading here in set 2, 2-1.
You catch that? I didn't.
Nope, but he had to be talking to himself because that was well out.
Something about the serve.
Right.
Both players, of course, you said it before, Al, from New York. Both live here. Vitas Gerulaits has a place down in Florida, but my understanding is that he spends most of his time up here. The fans probably favoring Gerulaitis at this point, not because of any antics from either player, but because I think they would like to see him come back and make a match of this thing.
People love the underdog, and there's no question who's the underdog in almost any match that anybody has with John McEnroe, outside of Lendl and Connors occasionally.
Look at that.
Again.
Don't you love it?
Yep. It's amazing.
I mean, you talked about it before, and that's not the topspin lob that you, Al Michaels, have told me that you would love to hit more than anything else in the world. Take a look at it again. Watch it. Now, he comes in here, and watch McEnroe take that racket back. Now, can you tell what he's going to do with it? Vitas Gerulaitis can't, and I certainly can't. It's just a last-minute change of direction. He just lobs that thing, literally lobs it over. He doesn't hit it with any topspin. He sort of steers it over his opponent's head. It's a beautiful shot to watch. And I believe that had John McEnroe not believed it was going wide, that he would have had enough time to get to it and put the volley away.
So McEnroe with the advantage here in the second set, fourth game. John won the first set 6-3. Gerulaitis leading in this set 2-1. McEnroe with a long look at the linesman. Well, semi-long anyway.
But John, that was just a peek.
Yep. Leading glance, peek, long look, or whatever. It's McEnroe squaring the set at 2 games apiece.
You know, you talk about the look that he gave that man, Al. It makes me think about the difference in his attitude on the court. Dallas last week, he was so aggravated almost from the beginning, from the first point of that match. You saw him earlier this week get mad from the first point of a match, and here he's playing against Vitas Gerulaitis, and I think the key is that he respects Vitas. Vitas is a friend of his. He doesn't feel the same kind of pressure, and I think that he just doesn't want to have Vitas feel that he's trying to take advantage of him in any way, whereas against certain players he wants to pull out every stop that he has.
Well, McEnroe doing a little drop kick here.
Remark, by the way, is purely editorial from myself, but because I have no feeling, and I've never asked him about that, whether he feels differently about the calls or whatever when he's playing against guys that he feels friendly with, but pretty close to the truth, I believe.
In addition to playing a couple of fellas who would be friendly with him, and Gerulaitis and Vilas, this has to be a tremendously satisfying week for McEnroe to do so well on this surface and to do it in your hometown.
Well, in the opening we said, and I think it's worth repeating, that he really is on a roll in terms of confidence. Started out in Dallas not very confident, then beat Lendl in the final in 5 sets. Now he has a chance to win his first major tournament on clay.
McEnroe was right there to cover, then the overhead. And it's 15-30.
One thing that's very difficult to get away with John McEnroe once he gets to the net is to lob him, because he moves very well, and you could see him there not anticipating that lob at all. I think he thought Gerulaitis was going down the line with that forehand, but he nevertheless had enough time to get back to it. saw that kind of volleying from Vitas in the semi-final yesterday, and early in this match he lost it. Now it seems to be coming back. Watch Vitas. He moves into the ball so well, keeps the racket head up as you saw. Firm wrist. That volley hit with great authority.
Hitting some good shots here.
Well, you've seen a couple of these so far in replays that we've done. The others off the backhand side. That one off the forehand, he ran around. He does that very well. You know, a lot of players when they come in that forehand side expect him to go in the opposite direction down the line, but he changes it up and does it well. I saw a few of those yesterday against Creek in the semi-final with the same result.
Football was called that time. That's well long, and Vitas Gerulaits is making a match of it after it looked like McEnroe at one point in the first set might run away with things. Gerulaits leads here in the second set. 3-2 at the Tournament of Champions. John McEnroe won the first set, 6-3. Vitas Gerulaits leading here in the second set. Each man has held serve throughout the second set to this point, 3-2. And John McEnroe standing at the north baseline and waiting for the crowd to get settled back in, ready to serve in the sixth game.
Capacity crowd, we might add, close to 14,000 people.
And John McEnroe with ace number 4. Talked about McEnroe in that last game. Remember when Gerulaits made a good shot and John makes the surface pay the price.
You've seen that before, haven't you? That graphite racket can take it better than the wooden ones they used to use.
That's why I made the change, probably. Quickly 40 love on a day that has some high cloud cover now. Still a very comfortable afternoon. It's breezy, but the wind does not appear to be as fierce as it was yesterday, so it is picking up now. McEnroe saves, and then Gerulaits does him a nice little favor, and we're even at 3 games apiece.
You saw Gerulaits coming in behind that second serve. I thought at the outset of this match you were going to be seeing a lot more of that kind of play from Gerulaits, and you were seeing some intensity from this man that we did not see last week in Dallas. Looked rather tame in going down in 3 straight sets to John McEnroe. There is some intensity in him now, though, because I think he smells at least the possibility of winning, if not the match, certainly the set. 3 games all. There's no break of serve yet, but something more exciting from Gerulaits in store, maybe. A good angle off that ground stroke from McEnroe, but again, I must say that it surprises me how much both of these players have been staying back in the match. Surface is slow, of course, but they both like to serve and volley.
Here comes Gerulaits. McEnroe is long with a return, 15 all.
Every game obviously is important. This is a big one for Gerulaits. He needs this one. 4-3, and his nose will stay in front. He does get close to the line when he's standing on serve, doesn't he? Very close. He was foot folded one game ago, remember?
And Cord gets it back. Look at that. McEnroe is just so unbelievably quick, it boggles the mind.
Here's the attempted drop volley. Watch it. It was hit too hard. McEnroe right into the body, and again right into the body for the winner. Good shot. And I say that because Vitas Gerulaits anticipated that backhand again down the line from McEnroe. It's not the high percentage play from him. Watch it again. Deep first volley, which really helped him out, and then anticipating that down the line, makes good execution into the open court.
And at a most opportune time. Otherwise, he was looking at 15-40.
Often see that, do you? And perfect anticipation that time from McEnroe. You've seen on a few replays how Gerulaits off that backhand side has gone cross-court pretty much all of the time today, and McEnroe anticipated that one, got to the ball, and did not execute the shot.
He does not give away too many gimmies, as was the case there. 40-30. Gerulaits trying to hold serve in the 7th game. Second set even at 3 apiece. Played by Gerulaits as McEnroe kicks over a photographer's satchel and vents a little bit of his frustration here. Gerulaits holding here in the second set to lead 4-3, and will return to Forest Hills, the Westside Tennis Club, after this message and a word from our local stations. Cliff Drysdale back with you from Forest Hills. John McEnroe, who's been relatively calm today, expressing his frustration quite overtly here with a little drop kick of a photographer's satchel as Gerulaits won the last game. I wonder if it could have been John Newcomb's camera in there.
Tell you what, he could have hurt his foot for one thing. I hope there wasn't any expensive camera equipment in there. However, nobody on the bench there was too upset with it. In fact, there were some smiles from the photographers.
For late tuners in, Gerulaits is making a match of a Tournament of Champions final. It looked initially as if it might be a rout. McEnroe got off to a 5-1 lead in the first set. And then Gerulaits was able to break him, take him to 5-3, and then Mac won it. And they're both on serve here in the second set. McEnroe trailing here in the 8th game, below 15.
That's a great shot.
Terrific. I love the way you put it, though. Two of the three things that happened on that shot are bad, but when it's well executed, it's just beautiful to watch.
Well, the problem is, of course, when the closer you get to the net, the easier it is and the higher your percentages become. It's when you're on the baseline trying to make a drop shot that you really take your life in your hands. Especially when you're playing against a guy with good mobility, and both of these fellas have that. Gerulaits, he had the first point of this game for love 15, and McEnroe has come back, of course, but chance for Gerulaits if he had broken to serve for the set as it is. McEnroe has 2 points for the game and 4 games all on the second.
Gerulaits, he has really hit some beautiful shots today.
He has with both wings. If you've seen some off the backhand side, now look at this approach. Nothing wrong with that approach shot. Almost a half volley cross-court forehand from Gerulaits, which is one of the tougher shots to play. Slice from McEnroe on the approach, kept the ball low, but Gerulaits was up to the passing shot. Solid stuff. Still game point down, though.
McEnroe. So no service breaks thus far in the second set. Tied at 4 apiece.
John McEnroe, you expect him to serve not quite as well, or certainly not the same percentage of first serves outdoors with the slight breeze conditions that we have here today, but he's only got 17 of 51 for 33%, which is way lower than I would have expected. Somewhat lower, I would have expected from 65, which is about his average. That is pretty dismal on first serves, and by contrast, Vitas Gerulaits, only 2 double faults that I can remember, but he's at 71%, 31 of 49.
JP Sr. has watched his son lose his serve only once in this entire tournament. So despite that low percentage Cliff just referred to. McEnroe.
That's a great shot.
Oh, again, we've seen that how often now in the last 3 days?
You've seen them mainly off the backhand side. There's Vitas' father. But you've seen them mainly off the backhand side from McEnroe. And again, no topspin on that forehand. He just guides it over, hits the ball flat off both sides. And Gerulaits very much in trouble on serve. Of course, if he loses this, McEnroe will be serving for the match. If he loses this game, love 30 down.
Looking for the call and doesn't get it and doesn't believe it. Now, just looking at it live, it looked out to me. But again,
well, it was a clear call from the man in the chair. He's backed up, I should say, the man sitting down in the chair. That's the linesman, backed up by the umpire. Watch it again.
Well, maybe it did get the line. I don't know.
Could have been an outside edger. Very close, whichever way.
And that was a crucial point for Gerulaits to win.
Too close for an overrule, certainly.
Now he's back to 30 all.
Talked about how in control John McEnroe has looked pretty much all week, Al, and there a real golden opportunity on that serve to make an impression on Gerulaitis, make him go for the passing shot, and you're just not used to seeing him play that kind of a shot.
He has been so thoroughly dominant through the tournament. Three straight points as McEnroe again flails at the ball. Gerulaitis, who is down love 30, now is up 40-30.
One of those points as close as it could be. Second one on a unforced error from McEnroe. We talked about that 1 point ago. And the point you just saw in Vitas Gerulaitis in the driver's seat on this particular game anyway. Having been in a lot of trouble.
Gerulaitis, who won this tournament in 1980 and won the championship match against McEnroe. Serve long.
You see John McEnroe wondering whether he should go into the net or not, and he may get away with it against Gerulaitis, but I think that when he plays against the real clay court players, he's going to have to, even on clay, play his game, which is an attacking game. He has not done so in this tournament, and of course, we'll might have talk, but nevertheless my feeling, he's playing against a Lentil, for example, or a Wieland. He's not going to beat him staying back.
So John McEnroe has taken it back to deuce in the 9th game, set tied 4 games apiece.
Cross-court backhand again from McEnroe, hit with topspin, was anticipated by Vitas. He got to the ball, but of course just never made the shot. Line ball serve.
At a most opportune time for Gerulaitis, who has another game point now in a game in which he started down love 30.
He's not faulted on serves. Talked about how many double faults he served in the semifinals. He's cut down on those dramatically, and he's getting a high percentage of first serves. Of course, he needs to keep doing that.
Down love 30, fights from behind to hold serve and leads 5 games to 4 in the second set from Forest Hills. Crowd is applauding as Vitas Gerulaitis comes out to assume his position here in the second set. John McEnroe won the first set 6-3. Each man has held serve throughout the second set. Now the crowd responding to McEnroe's reappearance on the court. John serving, down 4 games to 5 in the second set. Best 2 out of 3. Finals, Tournament of Champions. Winner $100,000. Loser $40,000.
slow breaks of serve may be, Al, but they have been walking a tightrope on serve, both of these fellas, almost throughout the set.
McEnroe again, that perfect touch.
Great drop volley for the winner. And you know, there was a point earlier on in the set, as you remember, when you may remember when I was talking about McEnroe seemingly getting his length on the serve, but it did not last for long, 2 or 3 in a row there. But other than that, his first serve has been very patchy. Very patchy. That's why Gerulaits has been able to test him.
Again, a replay right there. 30 left. That's out. No, they changed the call. Good. You can see the lady in the chair. She pointed wide and then said no. Changed it.
John McEnroe thinks that he might have been badly done by, I will say this, that it was a beautifully executed forehand, and here it is again. You see the way he got through that ball well. Racket head started below the level of the ball, then the racket parallels out when he makes contact, finishes high. That then forward stop spin on the ball. Perfect lob for the winner.
Nancy Epting is the official there, and Gerulaits' return is out, and it's 40-15. Gerulaits. Here comes Mac again. Well, he dropped him twice and tried for the hat trick and comes up a little short. Good point.
Well, he got 2 on a drop shot in this game already, and I think he was so excited by the fact that he'd made him, he tried another one. Didn't work. That attacking stuff from Gerulaits, and I'm at the expense of repeating myself, I'm going to say that I expect to see more of that kind of style of play from him. It worked on that occasion, and you could say indeed he is only 2 points from winning the second set. Of course, McEnroe is equally close to winning his serve in a 5-all situation here. It's deuce. Shot from McEnroe. You know, the interesting thing is that when Vitas has attacked, John McEnroe doing the smart thing and lob developing as much as he has. There is a slight breeze up there, but Vitas at the best of times a little shaky overhead. That's why he's doing it, and it has worked very well for him. That may be why Gerulaits is not attacking as much as I had expected him to.
Good first serve and a winner. And John McEnroe has squared the second set at 5 games apiece. And we remind you that coming up at the conclusion of this match, our regular Sunday coverage of the USFL, dependent upon your location, you'll see either Tampa Bay against Oakland or Denver taking on Philadelphia right after tennis. So a look around the capacity crowd, nearly 14,000 looking on. Stadium Court, Forest Hills. McEnroe winning the first set 6-3, second set tied 5 games apiece. So John McEnroe, we've seen that point played similarly a few times now. Gerulaits has a chance to put him away and can't. John gets it back, and Vitas does him a small favor.
You could hear that one come off the frame of that wooden racket, couldn't you?
There's the lob again, and a beauty.
Boy, it's beautifully played. And again, you try to pick it and watch it again here. Just take a look at him in isolation. Great shot this. Now look, he'll let the racket drop below the level of the, then he'll follow through high. Not a long follow through by any means, and not even a long take back either. Impossible to pick, but so well played.
But Gerulaits, as was the case the last time he was serving, he was down love 30, fought from behind to win it.
Vitas has definitely decided to attack the net. Of course, he's been reasonably successful throughout this set, holding on, sometimes with some problems, but he has not lost serve yet. Changing things up slightly at this point. This is a big point for him.
Long. So a double break point here for John McEnroe.
Vitas Gerulaits has been involved in some potentially serious personal and legal problems. Al, it's been widely publicized, of course. He's trying to put that all behind him now, and you can see him sort of fighting mentally with himself. He wants to forget about that stuff, get on with the game of tennis. It's what his father said earlier today to us, and I certainly wish him well. He's a great athlete, a great competitor, a great human being. One of the game's really bright stars. But he's in trouble on serve.
Net court. Yes. Gerulaits handing off one of the 2 break points.
There is such a thin line that these athletes tread in tight situations, and this was one of them. Watch this. John McEnroe doing the right thing. He's attacking the second serve. That hit the tape, as you could see. That volley from John McEnroe could have gone almost anywhere and been a winner. It went right back into at least Gerulaits' grasp, as you could see, and he put it away into the open court. Still break point.
McEnroe, and he'll have a chance to win it by holding serve. So Gerulaits came charging in, and John went right down the line, and that's the first service break of the second set. McEnroe, when we come back, will be serving for the championship. Well, we've just had our first service break in the second set, and thus John McEnroe is now serving for the match, for the championship. Best 2 out of 3. A reminder coming right up following tennis, USFL football, Tampa Bay, Oakland, or Denver against Philadelphia. John McEnroe has his way. We'll be going there very shortly. He'd like to end it right here and take home $100 grand.
and his first major clay court title.
And he starts with an 8. That's a handful. 5 for John McEnroe. And he's 2 points away.
When I talked about major championship, I said that advisedly, Al, because this event has become one of the major premier clay court events in the tennis calendar.
To get in, you must win a tournament in which the prize money is $25,000 or more. So it was a great field.
WCT, I understand, have signed a long-term agreement with the West Side Tennis Club to continue this great event here.
A marvelous concept. Of all the top players, only one did not come, and that was Connors.
You'd have to include young Swede Wielander in that.
That's true, yeah. That's Wielander.
But it has been a great field. 2 points from the match.
Oh. Well, why not? I mean, he's been so brilliant with that shot the past couple of days that you might as well add another for emphasis here.
It's been like clockwork, hasn't it? Every time Gerulaits has tried to attack him, he's hit that lob off both wings, forehand and backhand, and he has been remarkably successful. It's not an easy shot to play, that lob, and he's just had great control over it. The wind, not as much of a factor today as it was yesterday.
3 match points for John McEnroe, and he's right on the verge of making it $250,000 in the last 8 calendar days. That's the second double fault for McEnroe.
Well, his serve statistics have been nothing to write home. Vitas has not had the same problems with his serve that he did yesterday, but is all belied by the score. 6-3 first set for McEnroe, and 6-5 2 match points, 40-15.
Gerulaits is complaining that he should have gotten an out call, but he doesn't, and it's over. So John McEnroe has won it at 1 break, coming in the 11th game of the second set. McEnroe wins it 6-3, 7-5.
There's really not much doubt that it was going to end up that way. Al, some fine tennis from McEnroe on a surface that is not his best surface. He has just played extremely good tennis, changing his game up. You talked about it during the match. I thought the point was well taken. He won a tremendous victory over Ivan Lendl just 7 days ago, $150,000 along with it. He has won again here on a very different circumstances, outdoors, of course, different surface as well. We're talking about clay here, slippery surface, windy conditions in the semifinal. What this man has shown us is that he is a very versatile tennis player in every sense of the word.
So John McEnroe, a bye in the first round, and the second round wins by default, and then in the third round was brilliant. He followed that up by beating Smith in the quarterfinals. He beats Vitas in the semis handily, wins here in straight sets. And let's get a word with him, Ann Simon, with John McEnroe. Ann.
Congratulations, John McEnroe. You just won your first major tournament on clay. Must make you feel kind of good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I feel very good right now, and I'd like to, just before I say anything else, wish my mother happy Mother's Day, because 3 years ago on this day. Vitas beat me here in the finals, and I was hoping the chance to get it back. And I played very well today, and I'm real happy that I really haven't won much of anything on clay. So this is a big event, and I'm real happy that I finally won something.
Have you given any consideration to the French Open now that you've won here?
Yeah, well, you know, I'd always intended on playing. I just want to make sure I'm physically fit and ready to play, because that's a real grind. The tournament is 3 out of 5 sets every match. But if I feel good there and get myself in a little bit better shape, I'd like to try to play there, because I've been lucky enough to beat a couple good clay court players the last 2 days, and I feel I have a chance to do something there.
Congratulations. I know it's nice to win at home, isn't it?
Well, the U.S. Open used to be here for a long time, and it's kind of changed a little bit. They changed the dates, but it's always nice to win in New York. Seems like I play pretty well here in Flushing Meadow and in the Masters, so this is the first time I've won a tournament here, so I'm happy about it.
John McEnroe, congratulations. Now back to Al Michaels.
All right, thank you, Ann, and our congratulations.